Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. Oh, so glad to be here with you. We have an amazing show for you today. We've got Cory here with us, and she's got something very powerful to share with us. A couple of you out there, maybe people pleasers, want to disrupt things, but having a hard time, doing that when you're people pleasing and bleeding your boundaries all the time. Well, this is especially for you. We're going to be talking about being a visionary disruptor. And I want to tell you a little bit about Cory right now. Cory is an intuitive guide for leaders, entrepreneurs, CEOs who have a calling to access their higher levels of consciousness and being. She has assisted in awakening the natural and unique creation capacities in her clients so they can access the flow and reality they see possible. Her work is non-fluff, no BS, and it creates results quickly. Love it. Cory's go-to question to the universe is always, whose keys do I have to open the doors to the secrets to their universe? All right. And then allow them to find me. Are you one of them? So just, you can even see with the intro, we're dealing with a new consciousness here. That's what we need. Loved it having you here, Cory. Michelle.
Hi, Daniel. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for putting yourself out there and creating this awesome podcast.
Yeah. I had the Spiritual Rockstar radio show for many years, and then I just got like to be too much of the same stuff, and I'd let it go. And now we got the podcast rocking. So glad to have a disruptor like yourself here. So let's just dive right in here. So yeah, we're going to be a lively conversation here today. Now, what the heck are you talking about? Let's hear. I already got so excited. I already started talking about what is a visionary disruptor. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so visionary disruptor, if I'm going to put a label or a definition on it, is somebody who sees a different future, a different possibility for a life, a reality, a future that's available to us. They can feel it, they might know it, they might be able to see it, they might be wondering, why's this world the way it is, right? Because so many of us who are here on the healing path or the spiritual path are being called to something greater. That's sort of the visionary aspect. But the disruptor aspect is a little bit unique because we're the ones, because I'm one as well, is we're the ones who are here to disrupt the status quo, right? We're the ones that are here to go, hey, wait a second, no, we're not doing that anymore. The old paradigm is crumbling, and now we're here to step into something greater. And we can see this all over the world right now with all of the old paradigms that are currently crumbling that we can see very clearly, right? Mm-hmm. Like in pretty much every area of life. So a visionary disruptor would be somebody who can actually see the future that is maybe one of their purposes or part of their purpose is here to actually disrupt the old paradigms and really forage to creating new ones.
Yeah. And what we see, me and you both, we see brilliant, soulful, spiritual, amazing people that we love, and we are those people as well. And we see them struggle with all kinds of things depending on where they're at. It might be visibility, it might be owning their worth, it might be all these things, and they make their message. They have an incredible, sharp, amazing thing inside of themselves they're probably meant to share. But instead of going right to the thing, they water it down. They water down their message. They hold back on their visibility. They keep distracting themselves on things that, is not helping them to be able to, it's keeping them safe. It's keeping them numb, right? So how do people, what have you seen for yourself even? Like, we both have been in those places before, right? So what have you seen for yourself? And then people can get to know you this way too. So how have you moved from being in that place where it feels awkward to really put yourself out there fully as who you really are? And how did you do it to help those people out there that are still stumbling with it? Because I know you already help people with that, but like, tell us about your story with that.
For sure, for sure. I think that I mean, this goes all the way back to when I was a kid, right? And in my teenage years, I think that there was just this light bulb that went off where I started to see very clearly where things weren't quite in the world the way I sort of thought they could be, right? So seeing the difference and going, well, wait a second, why are politics like that? Why is the news like that? Why are religions like that? Why is all that like that? It did never made any sense to me, right? I was
Right.
always aware of some other way of living, right, that I could never really find outside of me. Like very rarely could I find relationships that I was like really inspired by, or
Cory, I mean, I feel like you're describing my life. This feels exactly the same so far. Okay, continue.
same, right?
Yeah.
So my whole life has been like that, right? And when I would tell people, they would look at me like I was crazy, right? When I would say, hey, that doesn't really seem like what's going on over there? And then people were like, no, like that's the way it is. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. Have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to see it. It's all about basically how we go into the paradigm, whatever the belief system is, and then we can't think for ourselves. And that's what I always felt like I was faced with, was people who couldn't at all see what I was seeing, right? And I was like, wait, how do you not see this? Like,
Exactly.
do other people not like, wait, like,
wow. That's perpetually my experience. I always argue with my parents about it. I'm like, what are you, crazy? Why you believe this stuff? You believe in that you know, these people are like this and those people are like that, you know? I mean, so I just things that weren't true. And I say every time I do it, they say, you're just arguing. You just like to argue. I'm like, no, I'm just telling the truth. So nobody wanted. So I had the experience too. And whenever we go to Disrupt, right, from earlier ages, so you must experience this too. And a lot of people listening, we go to Disrupt, and then people are like, oh, okay, let's get rid of him. You know, let's create a problem for him. Let's give him a lower grade on his in his class because we don't like him disrupting things, or you know, or let's just tell him he's arguing too much, and you know, whatever. I mean, whatever. It's just so many different things. So I mean, we've been shut down so many times and so many lifetimes in this lifetime. And so I love what you're sharing. I just want to, I'm interrupting to keep this more lively, like to keep the sparks going here. So I'll let you continue from there, but I just had to share, like, it's so resonating for me.
I love it because it's the same, right? There's so many of us out there who have been shut down. We've been told we're not doing it the right way. We're too different. And I was always into like conspiracy theories because I was like, well, that's interesting. And come to find out, you know, for me, wherever my attention goes and what I sort of gravitate to that's interesting and like fascinating and what I want to know more about, a lot of times there's a piece of truth to that the regular, like the masses, aren't willing to look at. Like it will totally bust their paradigm if they become aware that this is actually what's really going on. And we're finding that right now in this age, in the year 2020, this is what's happening, is all the paradigms are being broken down. And I'm sitting here going, I've been looking for this for so many years.
Exactly.
We're not the conspiracy theorists anymore. We're actually the visionaries. We're actually the ones who can see. We're actually the ones who can perceive the lies and the incongruencies. I remember when I was in college, I was 18. I went away to college and we were watching TV, and on the news one night, the reporter said, they were sharing a story about how tomatoes cause cancer. And I sit there and I, like, every alarm bell in my head went off. This is complete BS. Tomatoes do not cause cancer. And it was like coming from this depth within of like, liars!
Oh,
right?
God, yeah.
Just like so fierce about it. And it just tomatoes,
yeah.
but it was like
the tomatoes are going to get you, just like the beans are going to get you too. Yeah, they got all that nasty lectins or whatever they call it. Only
right.
The problem is they have so many people on the planet that have lived the longest that eat a lot of beans too, right? So
right.
yeah, a bunch of crap. They tell you to eat exactly what will kill you the fastest, so you're sicker, so that you have to get more medical care, etc. Right? That's what they tell you to eat. If you eat the opposite of what the experts tell you and the government tells you to eat, you're going to live like a great life.
You'll be healthy. Well, and that's exactly it. There's like, when you're sort of a visionary, or when you're also an empath, intuitive, whatever you want to call it, when you have these capacities or have developed them, right, whether they were natural to you or whether you developed them, you're going to be aware of the inconsistencies. You're going to be aware of that kind of stuff, and it will be frustrating or diminishing, like if you take it on, or you'll feel it, right? There's so many ways that this can be like felt and expressed. And so for me, I got really angry. I got like, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I think I'm on the wrong planet. Like, I'm definitely not supposed to be in this reality. This is not my kind of place, right? But as I, really got into looking at consciousness and personal growth and everything, it became very apparent to me that was actually one of my superpowers, right? Is to see what's incongruent, what's not in harmony, and go and actually point it out. So one of the things that I have always loved to do is poke the bear. So I'll go, oh, there's something over there that you're uncomfortable with. Here you go, poke. Because it's always a limitation. It's never actually true for them. Right. So it disrupts their field. And what I found is that it opens them up to a greater expression of themselves. Mm-hmm. On some level. They might not like it. And I used to do it in a way that was disruption was maybe made me not liked very much.
Right. It's a little too much in the way it comes, the package, and that sort of thing. Yeah. Totally.
But what I discovered is like, wow, because I would get backlash, right? I'd get backlash, and people either didn't like me, shutting me down. I was too much. That's a big one. I was being too much. I was told I was really good at softball when I was in high school, and I went to the coach and I was like, why am I not on varsity yet? Like, I'm one of their best players and I'm still on junior varsity. And he looked at me, he's like, because you're cocky. And I was like, no, I'm good. And it's like, wow, how many ways did I get shut down in areas that I knew I was seeing beyond where they could go, or I was actually accurate, or I was good at something, but somebody else had another agenda, or couldn't see it, or couldn't receive it, or whatever. And, that's been my personal growth journey, right? And my spiritual journey is getting rid of all that stuff so that I can really be the visionary disruptor without shutting myself down or stopping based on other people's reactions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I mean, because often what happens is when, people closest to me in my life, if I start speaking up the exact truth, I find if I say it clear enough and embodied enough, it always works out. It's like it actually, they may not fully integrate it, but like it actually turns the light bulb on. But if I'm trying to fight up against their ideas, forget about it. Or if I'm trying to convince, that kind of weird energy, forget it. But the effective way always for me is I'm embodied. I'm just speaking completely embodied and speaking the truth. Now people can hear it. I think that's something that, again, we don't realize. We don't realize we can't speak our truth. We just have to be really in our bodies, I want to say, when we do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. One of the things I found for myself is that if I have any doubt in my world, or if I'm looking for approval, right, or trying to prove it, like prove my point or whatever, then that will immediately cause like they can't receive it, right? Because your energy's going out, your vibe is going out, and it's going out in this funny way, and they perceive an uncomfortableness that a lot of times they have to react to defend themselves, and then they'll come back with, what are you doing? You're wrong, you're crazy, whatever. But exactly what you're saying, when you're embodying it and you're like, you don't have a problem with what you're saying, and you're also not attached to them agreeing with you, or you're not projecting that they're going to be upset, then it lands it might disrupt their world a little bit, but it lands in a totally different way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we hold back so much truth. I feel like that's our number one problem. If I were to give there's so many, but like if I were to give one number one problem, it's like we're not really speaking the truth all day long. We're holding back on who we really are by not speaking our truth. We can't even access the higher consciousness, which you talk about, right? We can't access that higher consciousness because we suppressed it. Okay, they don't want to hear that. Let's play a caricature. Let's give them a, one of these acts, the nice guy act, the nice girl act, or whatever, or another act, or I'll be the mean one, or I'll be this. So many masks, right? We got to take off the mask and we just share what we're really getting and just be done with this idea. How people think we're crazy, all this. But that's the only way for the consciousness to evolve is for us to show up as who we are, so that everyone can start doing more of that, and we can actually get on with the times, right? The evolution of the consciousness, which is really just waking up to everything's been there all along. I'm grateful for what you're sharing here, is because to me that's all about what we're talking about here, and being a spiritual rock star. We have to get on it with get moving forward with. The higher access of intelligence that we have. When I allow it to happen, for example, you're getting me all fired up. It's good. So when I take a test, for example, I've been noticing this forever. If I sit down, I don't have to know one thing about the subject matter. If it's a multiple choice test, especially, right? So I look at it. I can just tune into it. Okay, that's the right answer. That's the right answer. That's right. I don't know anything about the subject. I can just feel that which answer is right. It'll be right. So this is where we are so transcendent. People have so much concern about AI and all this stuff. We are in transcendent beings. We are accessing the unlimited intelligence. It goes beyond all recognition. So until we start speaking up and speaking our truths, how are we ever going to allow all that to be expressed and brought forth? It's not going to happen. So this is brilliant what you're sharing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So one of the things that, for me, that I really had to look at for myself is how much of what I knew and what was like trying to come out of me, I was stopping based on my perception of how other people would respond. Right. And there's been this evolution of like times, like it's like almost doorways that I've walked through and gone, okay, here I am. I remember the first time I was running this networking event. There was about 100 people in the room, and I stood up there and I just was like, okay, I'm going to come clean with this. And I was just talking about coming out of the spiritual closet with business, because it was a business networking event. And I said, when you start to come out and really it's really like being fully with all that you are and not trying to hold things back because you're doing business, and compartmentalizing, who you are, what you're about with, what your business is, then it'll actually flourish. And everybody in the audience, because I was like, I don't know how this is going to land. Everybody in the audience was like, oh my God, thank you for saying that. And it's like, when you speak something that's true, something that's like underneath for people, like it's like what I would call an organic awareness, then you speak it, and then all of a sudden it's like giving that awareness light, like sunlight and water, right? And it's like, oh, and then it's like everybody is more free, right? And I did this a couple of years ago, and my whole business blew up. So I was facilitating people with business, mostly consciousness. I don't do like, here's your system, here's how you're going to make your 6 or 7 figures, like, do this funnel. I don't do that stuff. But I was working with people in their businesses, and I was like, I'm so tired of this. This is boring for me. What I really want to be is a unicorn trainer. And I was telling my mastermind group this, and I was like, I just work with the magic. And they were like, well, okay, when are you going to start doing that? And it was about 18 months that I had been thinking about that. Yeah. And just like, oh, I'm so bored with this business stuff. And now I love business, but the way my expression of it was a limitation, which created the boredom, right? And there was something that wanted to come through that was so much more juicy for me at the time. So this was like 5 years ago now, I think. And they said, okay, when are you going to do that? And I was like, soon. I'm going to do it soon. I didn't know when. And I ended up creating this Facebook group called the Crazy Possible Experiment. And one like 2 days into the group, it just went wildfire. We ended up getting like 2,500 people in a week in that group, and then it grew to 14,000. Like it went totally viral. And it was the second or third day I was writing a post to them, and granted, this is 5 years ago, right? And I signed it, your unicorn trainer. It went nuts. It was like no unicorns, and then unicorns were everywhere. Everybody was talking about unicorns. All of a sudden, every shop had unicorns within 6 months. Like unicorns were everywhere. It was crazy. And it was almost like I just pulled back the curtain on something that unicorns were already there. I didn't make unicorns up. Other people were using the whole idea of magic in their business and unicorns and like that sort of stuff. I didn't make it up. I just went, hey, look at this, and acknowledged it for myself,
Right.
which expanded it for everyone.
Right.
Right. And it was like everybody felt like, oh my God, if she can do that, I can be more of me too.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So you just started. So what I'm hearing you say is you start compartmentalizing. You probably used to do that, right? And you just started to just start being you, more nonstop, right? So to speak. You just be you. I mean, I love that because that's one of my themes too. I always say we just all need to be ourselves. So like a constant reminder for me, just be yourself. Would you just get over it? Just be yourself. And that's where we're going to see, I mean, where the fulfillment is. I mean, we are magical. You're right. We're all unicorns in our way. We all have the ability to have infinite, we always say infinite abundance. Well, of course, everything's meant to work for you, but you have to be yourself. If you're not being yourself, nothing's going to work right for you. The more you're being yourself, the more things work. That's the equation. That's why for me and you, some levels of getting business details for me too. I'm like, okay, this is just like getting in our left brains and slogging some stuff out. I mean, that's not too appealing ultimately for us, right? So it's kind of interesting. And then like, okay, let's move on. Let's get the fun stuff now. So yeah, I mean, you've got to be you. I mean, that's the foundational stuff of in the business sense and in your life. And once you're allowing that to come forth and not allowing these sense of limits and I can't be myself because whatever. Past lives, someone called me a name before, or whatever it is, we're able to finally just be ourselves. So that's amazing. And then I love like when you really just went with like this. There's no big plan. You had no plan. It sounds like, oh, just do a crazy possbile experiment. Yeah, let's go. Let's have some fun. Just being me. And then all of a sudden it goes, wow, we're viral. Wow, I got 5,000 up to 14,000. It's just blowing up, and because you're just being you didn't need any big strategy. Tell us more about that. Like you literally didn't have any strategy, did you? That's my first feeling. It's like you didn't even have a strategy, right?
No, I didn't have a strategy. I truly just followed my own awareness, and it was really cool because every little piece of the awareness came in, and it was like one piece because I knew I wanted to start a Facebook group. But I was like, I wasn't sure. Like it was like, not now, not yet. And then all of a sudden it was like, bing, bang, boom, 3 awarenesses came. And it was like, oh, it's the crazy possbile experiment. And then I could see what it was. Yeah. And then it was like with the minute, and it was like, but here's the thing is I was a part of a pretty big community, like a global community when I started that. And they were always about community sort of things. And what I really knew that this was about my expression with my business, right? And I knew that was going to piss people off because it wasn't community and she wasn't doing something that was about everybody's business. This was about, yes, people getting like awesome, really cool stuff for themselves, experimenting with their own consciousness, experimenting with ask and receive, creating stuff for themselves 100%. But it was about my business, right? And what ended up happening was I got a backlash of judgment from peers and colleagues because I wasn't doing something as a community effort. I was doing it as, this is my business, this is my creation, and I'm going to own that, and I'm going to caretake for it. right? I'm going to nurture this thing, and I want to see where this goes, because this is coming from my awareness. This isn't a group, like a community group. And that was a disruption in that particular community of, oh, look at what she's doing. Who does she think she is? I'm not going to support her anymore. Look at her. She's all egotistical. I got it all. She's anti-consciousness. I got every kind of judgment you could possibly imagine from colleagues, from people that I liked.
Wow.
Because I disrupted some part of their reality. Now, here's what I became aware of, is that, well, it's over time, but that was really apparent, because I knew that when I put my picture, this is the crazy possible experiment with Cory Michelle, I knew that was going to be the thing that like had people go, wait a second, we can't leech off of her anymore, because that's what was happening. And they still did anyway, but as I get stronger with that, and as I go, okay, great, you can try to leech off of me, but that's not your greatest expression. Right? Your greatest expression is something else. Fine. If that's all you got right now, that's fine. Take it. But what I realized is how empathic I am, because I was so aware of what was going to happen by me choosing this, and how much for years I hadn't chosen that because I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be an outcast again, because it's been so many times in my life that I've been outcasted. I didn't want to be thrown out of the community. So I had held myself in and played by the rules, or at least what I thought were the rules. And when I did that, I was like, no, I have to become stronger in using my voice and not having a priority of what other people think about it. That's no longer my priority. My priority is my business, my business, my life, me, my awareness, my business. My priority is no longer what people are saying about me. And that was hard, because you could still feel it when you're an empath. You can still feel the daggers coming at you.
Right.
You can feel the upset. You can still feel the talking behind your back. And sometimes you hear it, and sometimes it comes directly at you. But the stronger that you get, and that's not your priority. Your priority is what you value. Your priority is what you're here to be. Then that gets less and less and less. But that's what I was avoiding for so long, is the judgment and the disruption of other people's realities, such that they retaliate.
Right. I mean, that's been something that's been a growing edge for me always, because I can't help but to be disruptive ultimately. I mean, I can play the nice guy. I can just kind of go, everything is as it is, and so shall it be. And we're in the divine surrender, and everyone's loved exactly as they are. And I love everything the way it is. And I can be in all that stuff. But then when there's something screaming inside you that needs to be shared, that disrupts the system, we have to be with the all in all with that too. So, that's something I've noticed over the years for me. Because when I think about everything I've created, and with all my iterations of what I brought into the world, it was always a message that cut against the grain of what some other huge groups of people are talking about, right? So like Spiritual Rockstar, I get flack about Spiritual Rockstar. What? Oh, that's all ego stuff. Rockstar? And I'm like, no, I mean, it just came to me, like this idea of we're supposed to be really, really bringing it forth, and we're supposed to be tuned in and bringing the thunder and the lightning bolts and the namaste, and all of it all comes together. It's all meant to be, and to have our greatest expression in the world, to do what we've come here to do, we have to allow for all of that and speak the truth and all this stuff. So everything I've done has always been like helping healers, for example, is something I did, helping healers to make money. Well, that's, whoa, you're the devil now. You're about money for healers? Wow, that's horrible. Yeah, so there's always been groups. You channel Jesus? Whoa, you're definitely a charlatan. You're a con man, right? And all this stuff. We both have heard these sorts of things, right? And it's like, the more, even in this interview, I'm like, oh, wow, that means I should even double and triple down on what I've already done. I need to even go further. I just keep going with it. It's what keeps occurring to me. Oh, I need to do more of that, right? And that's what I'm hearing you say. You just got, oh, I need to do more of that then. And so when we can, because that's what I hear a lot of times is people have been persecuted in past lives. They're aware of this, or they have these feelings, right? And then while I'm there encouraging them, do clearings, whatever, and just, you know, helping them to move through that. And then they're like, I just can't seem to break through. I can't seem to allow people to pay me. I can't seem to allow myself to be visible. I can't seem to, you know, stop the people pleasing and just giving everything away. And so those are the blocks people run into. I guess like you're sharing about how, you know, things changed for you when you just let it happen, but how did you let it happen? I mean, are there certain, like, I could talk about, you know, some things have helped me, but like, what have you taught people have helped them to be able to get past that stuff?
Yeah, well, it's really about where you're focusing your priority, right? So, most healers, empaths, aware people, visionaries, at a young age are taught and conditioned or figure out somehow that they can be aware of their parents, of their families. Oftentimes we have some sort of trauma, right? There's either parents fighting all the time to some sort of abuse, whatever it is on the spectrum. Maybe you have more controlling narcissistic sort of parents. Maybe it was divorced parents in the beginning, going back and forth to houses, whatever that sort of, I'm just going to call it trauma for lack of a better word, but it encompasses all of it. We learn really quickly how to jump into everybody else's reality. And then we learn how to be safe, how to get by, how to be loved, how to be fed, how to not make people angry, how to avoid being abused, how to be taken along and included. We learn all of these things by figuring out where everybody else is functioning from. And then based on that, like everybody's got a different way they've done this for themselves. But what happens is because it was required to know what was going on in other people's worlds, a lot of times our own priorities were never really fully developed. Like, so oftentimes we have people pleasing. We have, you know, oh, I'm not going to say that because that's going to disrupt. Oh, don't rock the boat. We have this, and you might not even say it, but I can see people, they might even say, oh, yeah, I don't have a problem being me. But I'm like, yeah, you do. I can see it because of this thing you just did, or because of this thing you just said, or because of this question. So we can identify where it's happening on the subconscious, because then what happens is you jump into everybody else's realities. You can feel what they're going to do. You know how to be so they don't react, right? And then we are doing that as adults, and what we can start doing is really honing in on your priorities. What are your priorities? What are your values? Really cultivating you. And that is hugely looked down upon, because then you're seen as selfish. Then you're seen as, you know, a narcissist, which is a misidentification of narcissist. You focusing on you and knowing you is not being a narcissist. You choosing for you, what's actually best for you, is not being a narcissist. But we've been trained that that's such a bad thing, especially the empaths, because it's so easy for us to go other places, that when we come back to us. So that's a lot of the training I do with people, is going, let's see what's true for you, what's right for you, what are those energies. And I work with what I call energetic addictions and energetic priorities. So it's always coming back to those energetic capacities that we have and going, oh yeah, where are you focused? Oh, I'm focused on how my husband is going to react to the thing I really want.
Right.
Okay, your priority is you having what you want. Is that still honoring the relationship? Yes. Okay, so his reaction is actually it's not as none of your business, because it's going to come back to you if it's your husband, but it's not your priority. That's for him to deal with, right? Like stuff like that. Or especially adults dealing with their parents' reactions when they're like 45 years old. Like that's a field, like an energetic field we can really clean up, so that you're not choosing based on your parents' potential response.
Right.
You can truly choose to be that, you know, live your life for you. And it sounds, Daniel, it sounds so like, of course we're living our lives for us, but I'll have a 5-minute conversation with somebody and I can see exactly where they're limiting themselves based on, you know, what, you know, part of what my capacities are. But it's really obvious when you start paying attention to what you're saying and how you're choosing.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. We have to focus and give our priority to that which is really true for us, and that's what I ground myself in as well, and help people with. It's we have to do that, and I run into that personally too when people are like, "Well, can't you do this for me or that?" In my personal life, I'm like, "Well, no, I'm going to the gym tonight." Okay, well, can't you change that? No, I got a commitment. It's my priority, right? I mean, I don't say the priority, but basically that's what it amounts to. It's like, no, this is my priority. This is what needs to happen. So the more that we stay true to that, what I find for myself and others is you actually have more vibrancy to bring to everything, right? So you become an example for other people, which they can choose to emulate or not. Okay, I want to be like that too. I need to start taking care of me more. Because usually that's where how the conversation can go is like even in our personal relationship seems to be coming up for me to share right now. It's like, then you could say, oh, that's getting you mad. Well, I bet then you're not doing it for yourself. Yeah. So how are you not doing that for yourself then? How are you not taking care of your priorities, as you say, right? I talk about passions and other things in other language, but it's the same stuff. So how are you not doing that? That's one of the reasons why people get upset with you. So when we trigger people, we just have to remember, it's just a good constant reminder. Remember, when you trigger people, that's a great thing. We should be like, oh, I'm so glad. Like I tell people like, oh, you're getting people angry. That's great. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want. You want to piss people off because that's the only way you're going to shift the energy in a big way, because you can't help to piss people off if you're really being yourself fully. There's no way, especially if you're a visionary disruptor, you're really meant to bring a big world changing vision and be a big spiritual rock star, so to speak.
Yeah, totally.
Gotta do it. I mean, there's no other way. You have to let people be pissed off. Think about any famous person we know. There's people that hate them for no reason. They don't know anything about them. They hate them for some little reason, Well, I don't like the way they do this or that, right? It's always something.
Well, and that's you're exactly 100%, because that's the thing is we're so concerned, and this is where that conditioning, right, happens, is we're so concerned about what other people are going to think about us, and so have our focus on the outside of how are people going to react. Like, people aren't going to like me if I really do this, and then we're people pleasing. Yeah. Right? Doing the people pleasing to keep everybody in good standings with us, and then we can't actually be ourselves. We're trapped in a role that is soul sucking, right? You said, talk about the vibrancy, right? It really destroys your energy. It causes things in your body, like diseases in your body. It causes pain. People get achy, and they're like all sorts of stuff stops working. The money flows sometimes stop. Clients go away, because what people really want, that are here to receive your message, is they actually need you to fully be it, fully verbalize it, fully act upon it, instead of being the people pleaser. So if you think, oh, this message, this isn't going to go down okay, then it's probably the thing to do, right? But always tuning in with yourself. And I had this one at Christmas time. Like, I have some unpopular points of view, and one of them is about Santa Claus, and how Santa Claus has actually disrupted people's ability to use ask and you shall receive universal principle to their advantage. We could talk about that. I've got a blog on my website all about it. But people love Santa Claus, and they love Christmas so much.
Take Santa Claus down now.
Oh my God. It was like, I got a lot of people who were like, oh my God, thank you for saying something. And then some people who were just like, who do you think you are to diss on Santa? And all of the judgments and all the defense and all the stuff. And I was like, well, look at it this way, or not. I don't care. This is what I see. And that is so much fun now. It didn't used to be fun, but now it is so much fun to bring that to the world.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm really, again, when I'm centered, I get excited. I'm like, when people, like, especially too with even my clients, like when I say something, they get really mad. I'm like, oh, this is great. You're getting really mad. I love this. Because I know it's shaking up what needs to be shaken up, and then it's like it's often a entry point to a huge breakthrough for that. You're just like, oh, okay, it's good. So we have something to work with now.
Yeah.
It's really a great thing when we allow people, it's really good, a great gift for us to get pissed off, for other people to get pissed off. We just so judge these things. Well, we should be in the namaste, we should be blissed out, we should be blissed all the time. I mean, you could be having a good time no matter what energy you're in, to some degree. I always say the higher aspect of ourselves is always having a good time. It's like, wow, I'm so sad, I'm so angry, I'm so whatever. It doesn't even matter. I'm so diseased even. Somebody might be like, whoa, yeah, this is so interesting. Because we know we're infinite beings. We could end it any second we want. We're just messing around. So we have an opportunity to just decide not to have that anymore. You just have to, like you say, change your priorities.
Yeah, change your focus, change your priorities, and really look at what's true for you and what it is that you keep wanting to say, wanting to be, or what you're intentionally holding back, right? Those parts of yourself, that's where your gold is. That's where people are going to go, oh my God, they love this of you. Because when you're fully being you, when you're fully being expressed, when you're fully being you, that's when you're shining the brightest and the purest. Your energy isn't distorted with trying to hide. Because when you're distorting your energy field with trying to hide something that you are making wrong about yourself, or you think other people are going to make wrong about you, everybody can feel it. Everybody can feel the vibes, the frequencies, right? And then they'll respond to you accordingly like that. But when you just let it all out, you're shining like a diamond, and that's when you turn into the lighthouse, and then people can go, oh, she is, or there he is, and you just get less and less of I think, at least I find that I get less and less of the judgment and the backlash. The more I'm, like you said, totally embodied with it. And I'm like, I don't care how you respond. That's not my job. That's not my responsibility. Right. My responsibility is to be me. That's your responsibility to look at if you're triggered by this. Not my responsibility to hold back.
Now, one of the things I wanted to get to in this interview, as we've been going along here, is for some people, it's going to be really hard because they intuitively, they know people will get upset, and they may want to, like when you said, I totally disrupted the community I was in, and the people some of my colleagues got triggered or whatever. Like, okay, all these people got triggered, and a lot of them said, I'm not with you anymore. See you later. I'm not with you anymore. Bye-bye. And you lost, people say you lost people in your life, wow, they're gone now, and you don't have these relationships. And this could get as close as being a spouse. Like my spouse is going to be gone. I start doing this stuff, I take it all away, they're going to be gone. And so people have these fears. And I'm just wondering, like, if you could say something that could maybe help people with that, like to support them, because that's a real concern. Like, well, oh my God, what if I were to lose all these relationships? What will I lose? Will I lose my job? Will I lose my level of income I have right now, whether it's good or bad, in their mental perspective? But I'll lose what I have. Yeah, can you talk about that?
Oh, 100%. So what you're holding on to is always your limitation. Always. Anything you're attached to, you're holding on to, whether it's love of a spouse, your family unit, things being a particular way, being a part of a particular community. Here's my take on it. If you're truly being you, there's going to be an abundance of people who really just adore you for you. And if you're not currently surrounded by those people, and those people actually don't want you to fully be you, then let them go away. Let them go away. Those aren't the only people in the world. Just because you've decided that this was the person that you needed to marry at that time 30 years ago doesn't necessarily.
I'm going to just jump in, but you don't understand, Cory. Who would love me? Who would love the real me? No one's going to support me, not even my guides, I think. They'll judge me. They'll say I'm getting too mean and I've gone too far. Yeah, so I don't know. No one's going to love me as me.
I would say you're probably right. If that's the point of view you want to continue taking on, then you will create that reality where you have to shut yourself down to fit into other people's boxes. But if you want a different possibility, a different reality, then you're going to have to look in a different direction. I find it interesting how many people are exactly where what you're saying, of how much they're looking outside of themselves to value themselves.
Yeah.
Like if people are around, or if my spouse will stay, or if people will still be my clients or whatever, the value, the priority is still outside coming in versus really knowing it for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And going, you know what if I actually be me and everybody loves me? Not everybody, because everybody's never going to love you, but what if it's actually okay? And what if I'm totally fine? So it's like shifting that perspective, and I'm sure you do this with your clients too, of going, well, what if that's actually not true? What if you've been projecting that just to keep yourself safe in this box that's actually probably on some level killing you?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you read any book of somebody who's overcome cancer or some disease, or somebody who's made it through something tragic, or had some awesome outcome, or even professional athletes have this too, is you have to overcome and go beyond any limitation that isn't congruent with what is actually possible, what is actually available to you. And that sort of thinking, right, is one of those really sneaky limitations that feels really real, but it's never real.
Right, exactly. So we're going to amplify the people that don't like us and don't want to be around us, but we're also going to amplify the people that want to be with us. And that's why, we see, for better or worse, in politics, that the stronger the signal, the stronger the magnetic pull and the repulsion. Again, I'll use Trump just because he's one of the best examples of that. Like, look, I mean, people are so like connected to him being what they perceive as his real truth. I'm not going to debate all this stuff here. Okay, that's for another show. But like, oh wow, he's being real and he's being himself. At least, I mean, he's congruent. He's being himself. I think most people wouldn't debate that. And like, they're like, whoa, that's so appealing. That's so awesome. And then there's all these other people like, you're narcissists. You lie all the time. You're destroying the planet. And you're everything. I mean, he goes on and on. So you have all these other people, and then there's so much of shadow content, right? So it's like, you're my shadow. I don't like my shadow. Quit showing up, like, pissing me off about my shadow. And then we just want to just get rid of them. So we're just like, oh, I hate them. Get rid of them. In this case, impeach them, whatever it is. So we're just like, just get rid of it. You're just going to get rid of all the problems on the planet. We're just going to get rid of it. And I think that's one of the things that we try to do within ourselves. Let's just get rid of it. We can't get rid of who you are. We're all of this stuff. It's a matter of how you're being with it, is how I see it. So what's your perspective on that?
Totally 100%. That shadow, right, is exactly where we want to look, because there's gold in there. There is like awareness, essential, and freedom. That whole saying, like, the truth will set you free, right? And the truth really will set you free, because the lies and the limitation, the conditioning, all of that stuff is all held in. If we want to talk a little quantum science, right? It's held in by an energetic pattern that is not, I love using the word organic, right? It's not actually organic. It's like it puts a cage on little parts of you based on these energetic patterns. When we buy into them, we believe them. I believe I'm unlovable, right? So I have to limit myself to keep my spouse around, right? That's a little energetic pattern, right? When you see the truth of it, so for that one is actually, your love doesn't come from outside. Love is inherent, and you when you're looking outside of yourself, you're never going to find love anyway. Like, in the way that it truly is, when you love yourself, the truth will set you free. And then that, a lot of times we find that they just disintegrate, like those old limitations, energetic addictions, choices, sabotage, self-sabotage just starts to disappear when you acknowledge that whatever the truth is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So we're getting to the end of the show here. I wanted to give you a chance for people that are wanting to understand how you can support them or add to their experience, because you do amazing things. Like, one of the things I wanted to get to in the show, and maybe as part of the very end here we could do it, is like, you just simple things you've done that I've seen you do with, like, asking and enlightening questions. Like, it's something I'm such a big believer of. What if, on the possibility side, right? So what if this could happen? What if that could? Most people are thinking of fear all the time, right? what if I run out of money? What if I die? What if everything negative, right? So then they create those sorts of situations. And oh, you're really good. Been really a great teacher of that to a lot of people, keeping that in their, adding that into their experience and reminding them too. So, but where can people? Maybe we'll get to that into that a little bit more in a minute. But can you tell people where they can find out more about you?
Totally. So my main website, I usually have a free live stream that anybody can tap into, which is meetcorymichelle.com, and that's CORY, Michelle.com, and that's just on the top, whatever the current offer is, whenever you hear this. And then I'm mostly on Facebook. So if you go to Cory Michelle, find my business page, you can always personal message me if you have a question or you feel called to find out more or want to work with me. I do classes online, I do retreats in person, and I've got a main course, like a year-long academy called the Creation Academy, where that's where we do most of the work.
Wow, that sounds really cool. Yeah, we all have to check that out. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes, and yeah, I mean, a Creation Academy is what you said. So Creation Academy. Wow, that's amazing. So we have the opportunity to, it's fun to have to create the realities that we actually would enjoy, right? So we have that opportunity, and Michelle, I don't know anybody better to help you with that. And Michelle, especially if you resonate with the unicorn stuff. Come on. So check out Cory Michelle here. So beyond that, the last thing is just I do take in a minute. I'm going to just do a little thing I do. But was there anything else you wanted to share real briefly? Any last words or about the stuff I was talking about with the questions and stuff, or anything? Any last messages for the audience?
Yeah, I think that what you were addressing with the questions, wow, asking open-ended questions that provoke awareness, right, can really free people from the construct of the fear, anxiety, like all the things that we're aware of that keep us in those lower vibrations or those more limited spaces of being. Like, okay, so what's available to me if I speak this message, if I really come out of this spiritual closet, if I really am willing to disrupt people's realities. And by the way, this isn't necessarily I'm going to go out and disrupt people, but when you naturally be you, it's oftentimes going to be a disruption because you're being different, right? You're just naturally being different, and that is going to disrupt people's worlds a little bit to go, wait a second, that guy's being different. What's going on here? So open-ended questions of like, hey, what is available here are really great just to get you opening your channels with awareness even greater.
Yeah. And one of the things that came up for me and listening to you say that, we always talk about we want to change the world, change the world. I talk about it, that as well, the world changers, and that we want to be world changers. And so how can you change the world unless you disrupt? There's no way you can really. I mean, that's a huge part of it anyway. You have to be willing to disrupt in a big way. So when you think about, again, all the great ones are all disruptors. God, the ones I always talk about, Gandhi, Jesus, I don't know, all the different ones out there you could talk about. They're all just disrupted the status quo. So the last thing, Cory, is I'd just like to take a minute or two just to do my little thing, which I asked permission again for. If I could just scan your energy for a sec and just share something amazing about you, and just to do that is what we do routinely on this show. So can I do that to wrap up the show?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, awesome. So one of the things I noticed for you, often I just, the first thing that comes to me is just that how deep a channel of source you really are. And I think like that's something that it's one of those gifts that we have. I see for you that you have such an abundance of, that you realize it, and yet I bet like you have more of it than you even realize. Even it's so deep, it goes so deep, is this channel that you are. And it's something that really strikes me about you, and right now is scanning your energy. And what was really cool is like, yeah, all those energies inside you that I'm getting kind of like power center, sacral chakra. They used to be like, oh my God, can I really, I don't know if I trust this. It's, not this again. And like, oh, wow, this is like a bad movie. I don't like this stuff. Like you get this feeling like, we got to hold back and all that stuff that, increasingly you're letting yourself amp up and share in an amazing way from this channel. And that because it's the channel that says everything is possible, right? Everything is possible, anything's possible. So how do we get to play today? And then I see those niggly wigglies would just transform that. They transform into, how can we play to get today? Wow, we get to play. And it's like this, I'm gonna say like a sexy aliveness, it's vibrant. It's like, ooh, well, we get to play. And so you being in that place is just so magical. And it's because you're not in boxes, there's like no end to what's possible for you to bring forth into the world with a little support and others, maybe some energies to come in to help support your structure. So, I see the need for some structure, but you have the unlimited to work with. So anyway, just a quick little share, and that's just a little something I wanted to share about you. And I know your work is just going to continue to expand. So
thank you so much for that. Thank you. I'm like, I so appreciate you, and I would just want to acknowledge you as well for thank you for doing this, but also, like you said, the Spiritual Rockstar radio show for such a long time, and staying true to you being a visionary disruptor and contributing to all the people that you have in your way. And I love meeting people and knowing people in my world that were I feel like soul brothers and sisters, or whatever you want to call them, right? It's like, yes, rock on, keep going.
Yes.
Keep doing your thing.
Yes, let's rock on. Absolutely. All right. And if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. And I have meditate and make money, a meditation, clear up the chakras, and then tune in for the day and more, and an opportunity to work with me through an application, etc. So you can check that all out. And I'm just this an amazing time together with you, Cory, Michelle, and I trust our listeners feel the same way. And I'm just so grateful for you. And absolutely, let's rock on, everybody. Okay, all right. Thanks again so much again, Cory, for being on. Big love to you and everybody. And goodbye for now. Wow, what a pleasure to have you join us today. Thank you so much for listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.